The idea that civilization is on the brink of collapse is nothing new. The Sumerians wrote about the decline of their society. The Greeks complained that the youth had lost their way. The Romans believed their empire was doomed centuries before it actually fell. Today, the same fear takes new forms: climate catastrophe, AI extinction, economic collapse, and global instability. The narrative repeats, yet civilization keeps adapting and moving forward. To be clear, not all collapse predictions are wrong. Some past civilizations did fall, and modern society does face serious risks. The question is not whether collapse is possible. It is whether it is inevitable. And if it is not inevitable, what actions shift the trajectory? Doom narratives spread because they feel rational. In evolutionary terms, assuming the worst was often safer than hoping for the best. If a noise in the bushes was a predator, it was better to flee than to take the chance. This bias remains hardwired in our thinking. Today, the same instinct misfires in complex societies, making worst-case scenarios seem like the most likely outcomes. History shows a pattern. The population bomb panic of the 1970s predicted mass starvation. Instead, the Green Revolution dramatically increased food production. In the early Cold War, many believed nuclear war was inevitable. The arms race escalated. The US and Soviet Union stockpiled thousands of warheads. Scientists warned that a full-scale exchange would make the planet uninhabitable. And yet, despite decades of brinkmanship, no nuclear war happened. Instead, deterrence, diplomacy, and shifting incentives prevented the worst-case scenario. The 20th century was filled with moments that seemed like the end of civilization. World War I shattered the global order. Millions died. Entire empires collapsed. Many believed it was the war to end all wars. Then came the Great Depression. Economic collapse spread worldwide. The banking system failed. Starvation and political extremism surged. It seemed like capitalism itself might collapse. World War II followed. Tens of millions died. Cities were reduced to rubble. Genocide, nuclear weapons, and total war pushed humanity to the brink. Many believed civilization would not survive. And yet it did. Each of these moments led to systemic adaptation. The post-war era saw the creation of new economic systems, international institutions, and technological revolutions. The same pattern repeats. Predictions of inevitable collapse overlook one thing: adaptation. Constraints create incentives for problem solving. The systems that survive are the ones that evolve. But what if this time is different? That is the strongest Doomer argument. The threats today: AI risks, climate tipping points, economic instability are unlike anything before. And yes, past civilizations did collapse. The Roman Empire fell. The Mayans disappeared. The Bronze Age civilization was wiped out. Why should modern society be any different? The key difference is scale. Past civilizations collapsed because they were localized. When they exhausted resources, they had no backup. Modern civilization is a network, not a single point of failure. If one nation collapses, others compensate. If one industry fails, new ones emerge. Real-time intelligence makes another key difference. Past civilizations often did not realize they were failing until it was too late. Today, global coordination, predictive modeling, and AI-driven systems allow early detection of risks. The Cody Demon S19 pandemic proved this. mRNA vaccines were developed in record time, demonstrating how fast response systems now operate. Technology scales solutions as well as problems. AI is seen as an existential threat. It is also a recursive intelligence amplifier, accelerating our ability to model and solve systemic risks. Energy is another example of a system evolving under pressure. Doomers have long warned that fossil fuel depletion or energy shortages would bring society to its knees. Instead, energy technology has shifted in ways few predicted. Renewable energy is scaling faster than expected. Solar and wind are now the cheapest forms of new electricity in many parts of the world. Battery storage costs are plummeting, solving intermittency problems that once made renewables unreliable. The energy grid is becoming more flexible, adapting to decentralized power generation. Nuclear power remains a highly efficient, low-carbon energy source. While regulatory and political barriers have slowed expansion in the West, new reactor designs, including small modular reactors, promise safer and more scalable options. China and India are already ramping up nuclear investment, recognizing its role in long-term energy stability. Fracking reshaped global energy markets. It dramatically reduced U.S. dependence on foreign oil and caused a steep decline in coal use. Many expected a global energy crisis, yet fracking extended the fossil fuel runway long enough for renewables to become viable competitors. Energy efficiency has also quietly reshaped demand. LED lighting, advanced manufacturing, and smarter power grids mean that economic growth no longer requires proportional energy expansion. Cars, appliances, and buildings consume less energy than ever before. Entire sectors have become more efficient without people noticing. This does not mean collapse is impossible. It means it is not inevitable. What if collapse happens too fast for adaptation to keep up? What if AI spirals out of control before regulation is in place? What if climate tipping points become irreversible? These are valid concerns. The best response is not passive doomerism, but high-leverage intervention. If collapse were certain, panic would be meaningless. If collapse were uncertain, increasing adaptability would be the logical move. History is full of moments where disaster seemed inevitable but wasn't. The Cuban Missile Crisis nearly led to nuclear war. Careful strategy prevented catastrophe. The Green Revolution prevented the starvation that seemed unavoidable. The ozone crisis was reversed through international cooperation. The post-war economic collapse never came. Instead, the largest technological and economic boom in history followed. Each of these moments was an inflection point. The trajectory could have gone either way. But collapse was not a certainty. Thinking about the future in binary terms, survival or collapse, misses the real complexity. The future is a probability field. Some outcomes are more likely than others, but they are not fixed. The best strategy is not passive optimism or passive fatalism. It is rational meta-strategy. Instead of asking whether collapse is coming, ask what actions shift the probability curve. At the personal level, this means separating real risks from overhyped ones. Building financial and technological resilience. Using tools like AI and automation to increase personal leverage instead of just consuming them. At the network level, this means finding other high-agency thinkers. Building parallel structures. Engaging in long-term problem-solving instead of reacting to short-term panic cycles. At the civilizational level, this means directing talent toward fields where intervention matters. AI safety. Climate resilience. Decentralized governance. Instead of just criticizing broken systems, build alternatives. Doomerism is not just pessimism. It assumes collapse is an unstoppable force instead of a challenge with multiple possible solutions. If enough people assume failure is inevitable, they disengage from the very systems that need adaptation. This turns collapse into a self-fulfilling prophecy. The rational position is not doom or denial. It is trajectory control. The future is not fixed. It is a landscape of probabilities. The highest leverage players are not those who predict it. They are those who shift it. Doom is a belief. Adaptation is a strategy. Choose strategy.